I love talking about underrated media. I always enjoy sharing my opinions on certain shows or music that I really like that not many others talk about, and or that don't feel like get the attention that they deserve. Whether it's an obscure Canadian cartoon that barely anyone remembers, or Canadian pop songs that are pretty much only popular in Canada, or a decent Christian kid show that got overshadowed by VeggieTales. I like talking about these things not just because I really like them, but also because I hope that talking about them will introduce more people to them, and convince those people to check them out too. Today, I've got some more underrated media I hope to introduce you to. The music of a certain artist I've wanted to do a video on for a little while now, and now finally get to. Arizona. Arizona is an electropop band who, despite their name, are actually from New Jersey. The band consists of lead singer Zachary Charles, guitarist Nathan Esquite, and keyboardist David Labugan. The band has been making music since 2016 when they were signed to Atlantic Records. Between then and 2023, they've released 2 studio albums, Gallery in 2017 and Asylum in 2019, plus plenty of singles. I was first introduced to Arizona in 2018 via my friend Mark, and I've been a fan of them ever since. The very first song I ever heard from them was Oceans Away, which was among my top 20 most listened to songs on Spotify in 2018. Ever since then, they've been a regular artist on my Your Top Songs playlists. Their song Where I Wanna Be was my number 1 most listened to song on Spotify in 2019. Their songs Electric Touch and Problems were my number 2 and number 3 most listened to songs on Spotify in 2020. And although I can't prove this for certain since I don't have Spotify Wrapped, they were certainly my most listened to artist on Spotify that year. Their collaboration with EDM duo Louis the Child, So What, was my 10th most listened to song on Spotify in 2021. I'm almost certain they're going to occupy at least a couple spots in my top 10 most listened to songs on Spotify this year too. Unfortunately, Arizona isn't a very popular artist. Sure, several of their music videos have over 1 million views, and they have over 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify and tens of millions of streams on many of their songs, but they still haven't had a breakout hit yet. They've never had a song chart on the Billboard Hot 100 as of yet. They have had a few songs chart on the bottom half of the Hot Rock and Alternative Songs chart, despite the fact that I wouldn't consider their music rock music, and a few of their collaborations with EDM artists have also charted on the Hot Dance/Electronic Songs chart, but that's about it. Gallery, their only album to chart on the Billboard 200, only got to number 143 the week after its release, and dropped off the very next week. They've been bubbling under the mainstream for a little while now, and still haven't had that mainstream crossover song yet. While I don't imagine my video here is going to make them finally have a pop radio hit, I do hope that I can at least introduce my online mutuals to them. And hey, third time's a charm, right? Sure, their first 2 albums didn't really get any mainstream success, but now, Arizona have released their self-titled 3rd studio album. Maybe this will be the one that has a sleeper hit. Plenty of virtually unknown artists have ended up getting unexpected hits, or one of the songs are trying the Hot 100 thanks to blowing up on TikTok. Maybe Arizona will finally join them. Of course, that's just wishful thinking on my part. Regardless, Arizona's 3rd album is here, and it's time for me to talk about it. Okay, the first thing I want to say about this album's content is that if you liked Arizona's first 2 albums, you're gonna like this one too. There aren't any major stylistic differences between this album and their first 2, which is perfectly fine to be honest. Unlike AJR, who try to make each of their albums sound unique from the last, Arizona is simply sticking to one style. As such, the fact that pretty much every song on this album could have just as easily been on one of their previous albums isn't a detriment in the same way that I feel like many of OK Orchestra songs could have also been on Neo Theater. If you like the style of music you got from Arizona prior to this, then you'll be satisfied. Speaking of style, I do want to talk about Arizona's style of music. It's basically a combination of synth pop, indie pop, and pop rock. Probably the closest comparison I could make for their sound would be the 1975. Of course, Arizona isn't as experimental or genre-bending as the 1975 are, but that same core synth-pop sound is present here. If you liked the 1975, chances are you'll like Arizona too. Another comparison I can make in terms of the sound would be the album One More Light by Linkin Park. I know a lot of Linkin Park fans didn't like that album due to the severe change in sound, and many people accuse them of selling out because of that. Personally, I found One More Light to be decent, and honestly, if another band had recorded that album but kept everything else the same, and released it as their debut album, it probably would have had much better reception. Honestly, Arizona sound reminds me of that album sound in a few ways, and they honestly could have been the band to record that album and release it as their debut album. I do really like this sound. Synth pop, post-punk, whatever you want to call it. I do tend to gravitate towards pop rock and electropop. Some of my favorite artists, including the 1975, Years and Years, Halsey, and AJR pre-2018 tend to fall in the perfect sweet spot for me. As such, it's no surprise that Arizona finds itself squarely in that category too. Arizona's music has a very chill electropop sound to it. Common sounds you'll hear, not just on this album, but throughout their entire discography, include heavy uses of synths, mute electric guitars, and pitch-shifted backing vocals. Some of the songs are pretty upbeat, while others are a lot slower, and some of them even strike a perfect balance in the middle. Many of the songs on Arizona's self-titled album sound almost relaxing, like the songs you would listen to while laying down in the sun and could almost fall asleep to. Songs like Wanderer and Meet You There especially give me that relaxing in the sun vibe. I don't really think I got that feeling on any previous Arizona song. I said there weren't any major stylistic differences between this album and the previous 2, but if I had to point out the biggest difference in sound, I'd probably say the self-titled album is a lot more summery. Many of these songs feel more suited to be listened to in warm weather. I definitely think the Warren Brothers sound was what they were going for with the imagery of this album. The videos of many of the songs' official audio show a desert. Even the album's cover depicts the band walking through what looks like a desert or savanna. Quite fitting for a band named after a state covered in desert. Either way, it's a very nice sound, I like it. It kind of reminds me of L1011, an instrumental rock duo who also utilizes a similar sound in many of their songs as well. Of course, the sound isn't too out of place for Arizona, and still feels like something that fits within their discography. They still do use many of the same kind of sounds that their two previous albums did. One such sound is that some of their songs have sort of a dreamy quality to them, almost like an out-of-body experience. This was most prominent on Asylum, their previous album, but I also mildly feel the way with Die for a Night, achieved through the use of reverb and pitch-shifted vocals. Heck, that might have been intentional with that song, given the song is called Die for a Night, and is about a partner who looks to play her up and might spell bad news for you. Why not make the song sound more dreamy and mysterious? The outro of the song Dancing with the Dead also has some haunting background vocals to it, which again was probably intentional given the song's title and lyrics. Another general sound present on their previous albums that's here again is that the interpretation of a few of these songs on here remind me of some of the EDM tracks you hear in the background of those Marble Race videos. I mean, Arizona do draw some influence in the music from EDM, so it's not that surprising that some of their songs sound similar. It's just something I noticed, especially since I do watch those Marble Race videos from time to time. Their use of EDM elements isn't always a benefit though. I'm not really a fan of the pitch-shifted vocals out of my hands, and I'm someone who generally doesn't mind or even likes pitch-shifted vocals. Occasionally though, there are times where I do think the pitch-shifted vocals sound bad, and that song is On the Line. Let me say for the record that if you don't like pitch-shifted vocals at all, this album and Arizona as a band in general is probably not for you. The song on this album, and I think the song throughout their entire discography, that relies at least on electronic elements is Graveyard, the first song on this album. Honestly, it just sounds like a pop rock or soft rock song. Graveyard. By the way, Graveyard is easily the best song on the album, and might just be my favorite song Arizona have ever released. I'll talk more about that song later. While many of their songs can be described as chill, they do have some songs that are more upbeat. Honestly, I think this is their most upbeat album to date. There really isn't any song on this album that I consider to be slow. There's no equivalent to Oceans Away on here. Every song on here is either mid-tempo or upbeat, and I actually think that works in the album's favor. There definitely were some pretty catchy songs on here. I think Moving On, which is also this album's lead single, is easily the catchiest song on the album, although Pressure and Dark Skies were also really catchy too, and not coincidentally, are also among my favorite songs on this album, and definitely help contribute to my enjoyment of it.
Keep moving on, 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 keep moving on. When the day is gone, the night is long, keep moving on. Pressure of you, pleasure in the dark now. Pressure of you. Put your hands up on my heart now. I feel it coming up ahead. Dark skies and trouble up ahead. I'm not gonna no, I'm not gonna. I feel it coming up ahead.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say this is Arizona's best album to date, and I'm not just saying that because their potentially best ever song is on here. I can personally say that in terms of my average enjoyment of all of the songs on each of their albums, the Sunset album hits the highest average. Gallery had some really good songs on it, but half the songs I could honestly give or take. As such, that album averaged out to decent, 6 out of 10. Asylum hit a higher average than Gallery did, but it still had a couple songs I didn't really care for. Plus only 9 songs long and a total runtime of under half an hour, it was held back due to being fairly short for a studio album. It's a light 7 out of 10. Their Sunset album manages to fix both the problems their first two albums had at once. It fixed Gallery's problem of having half the songs just be okay, and it fixes Asylum's problem of being relatively short. With 12 songs on it and a runtime of just under 40 minutes, it feels like they took the time to make the sound feel complete, unlike Asylum. And with me liking pretty much every song on this album, I can say this is an album I don't need to skip any tracks for, like with Gallery. Even the album's worst song, Pray to God, isn't bad, it's just not quite as good as the other songs on the album. It's still a decent song though that I wouldn't turn off if it came on my radio. From start to finish, I enjoy this album thoroughly, and while I wouldn't call it perfect, it was still a very good listen. In terms of lyrics, Arizona have plenty of songs from their discography about relationships, each with a slightly different angle to them. There was Where I Wanna Be, a song about loving a girl and wanting to be with her, Electric Touch, a song about how you and your partner shouldn't fight and should just instead make love, Oceans Away, a song about being lonely and missing someone who's far away now, Find Someone, a song about a bad relationship and ensuring the exes will find a better person for them, Nostalgic, a song about longing for the time you were with someone, or Take Your Place, a song about asking a new girl to sleep with you tonight because you're lonely without your ex you just broke up with. However, another theme that comes across Arizona's lyrics is anxiety. In songs like Problems, a song about worrying about what others think of you but not letting that feeling show, or Freaking Out, a song about stressing out and having a mental breakdown due to isolation. You'll find lyrics with both of these themes in their self-titled album. There's Dark Skies, a song about not leaving your partner's side even when times get rough, Out of My Hands, a song about trying and failing to get over someone you have feelings for, Meet You There, a song about helping someone else to be less lonely by showing you'll be with them even if things seem scary to them, and so on. There's also Moving On, a song about how everything will be okay if you just keep moving forward no matter what emotions you're feeling, Wanderer, a song about wondering what tomorrow might bring, Warm Water, Winter Winds, a song about growing older and realizing the responsibility and dangers that aging will bring, etc. I'm glad that in addition to making simple love songs, they also have songs that are a bit more meaningful in their lyricism. Not only does it make their songwriting less generic, but it also makes their songs feel more deep. However, the song on this album I relate to most is Graveyard. It's a song about being worried that you haven't done anything meaningful with your life as of yet, and feel like you need to make something of yourself before you pass away. I gotta say, I definitely relate to that message. I'm 24 years old, but I still live with my parents and don't have a full-time job yet, and I've never dated anyone. Sometimes I do get the feeling that I need to settle down and get married soon, or else it'll be too late. My sister's already married, she's only 3 years older than me. Meanwhile, I've never had a girlfriend, I feel like I should have by this age. At the same time, settling down and doing something meaningful with your life is not something you should rush into and should take at your own pace. These lyrics plus the awesome soft rock sounds why Graveyard is my favorite song of the album, and among my top 3 favorite songs by Arizona. By the way, I think the Graveyard might be the first song to have an F-bomb on it. I was a little surprised when I first heard that song, considering that Arizona don't swear in their songs, and the track wasn't even listed as explicit on Spotify. But that F-bomb does emphasize a feeling of, what am I doing with my life, which is what the song is about, so it's not entirely out of place. Graveyard also emphasizes Zachary Charles' belting on the final chorus. He usually has a fairly soft voice. It shows that he can sing very expressively, he just doesn't do it very often. He really should sing like that more often. I prefer that more than the choked up voice he used in the final chorus of Dark Skies. He also shows off his falsetto a couple times on the album, like on the choruses of Black Boots or Meet You There. He doesn't have the best falsetto I've ever heard, but he's still pretty decent at it. But you know what is the best? This Arizona album out of all 3 of their albums. It was a very good listen and definitely worth the wait. It still exceeded my expectations, that's for sure. I was already a fan of Arizona before this album, but hearing it made me like them even more. I definitely wouldn't call this album perfect by any means, but it's definitely one that I'll likely come back to and listen through again sometime. I highly recommend it and rate it a strong 7 out of 10. Man, I should rate a lot of things 7 out of 10, don't I? Check out this underrated electropop band, help them finally get their big break. They're a few years overdue. But I want to hear from you. What do you think of Arizona and or their new album? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Did you agree with my opinions? If you've never heard of Arizona, did I interest you in checking them out? Are there any artists bubbling under the mainstream that you think deserve more attention? Let me know in the comments. Arizona's big break is coming. I feel it coming up ahead.